Hello, I'm Ashley from Through the Loop Yarn Craft, and today we're going to be making the Crystalline Infinity Scarf. Infinity Scarf is quick and easy to make. It only uses 2 stitches in combination for some great texture and a lovely look. For this pattern, I've used the Lion brand Feels Like Butter yarn, which is very soft. It is a little bit on the thinner side for a worsted weight yarn, but the feel of it is just uncomparable. For the finished scarf, I used about 330 yards or so, and that would be for a scarf that is 60 inches long before seaming it closed for the infinity scarf look. I've used a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Of course, I use my favorite Pearls Odyssey. And then you also need scissors, a yarn needle, and a measuring tape if you want to keep track of the length. This scarf is also about 6 inches wide, so it's a little bit cozier. This one is perfect for kind of transition seasons. It's not a heavy, thick scarf, so it works great for the semi-colder times moving into spring and fall, or even just as a fashionable piece. This scarf will be worked back and forth in rows until you get the length that you want, and then you can seam it together for the infinity scarf or just leave it as a regular scarf and not attach the ends together. It's quite a versatile pattern, so you can do a bunch of different variations with it, and changing the length for toddler to adult is very simple to do as well. So before we get making the Crystalline Infinity Scarf, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to let me know you're watching. And of course, you can find the free written version of this pattern over on my blog, as well as a full list of tools and supplies and step-by-step instructions. And that will be linked below for you. So let's grab our supplies and we will make the Crystalline Infinity Scarf. All right, so we've got our yarn and our hook, and we are ready to begin. So we're going to leave a little bit of a longer tail so we can weave that in at the end. And we're going to start with a chain of 25. As I said at the beginning, we're working back and forth in rows, not lengthwise, so it does seem to work up pretty quickly. So let's start with our chain of 25. So now that we have our chain of 25, we're going to begin row 1 with a double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So 1, 2, and 3. And then double crochet in each chain across. So we'll have a total of 23 double crochets. All right, there is our last double crochet for row 1. And there we go. So we will now chain 2 and turn for row 2. Row 2 will be the first row of our 2-row repeat. So moving forward, the entire pattern is just a repeat of rows 2 and 3. So for row 2, we're going to be alternating between double crochets and slip stitches. The slip stitches, we want to be very careful of not to pull them too tight, and we want to keep them quite loose because when we move on to row 3, working into the slip stitches can be tricky if they're too tight. So to begin row 2, we're going to work a double crochet into the very first stitch right below our chain 2 there. So double crochet, and then we are going to do a slip stitch in the next stitch. So this is where we want to make sure it's nice and loose. So when you're working these ones, pull that slip stitch up quite even and then bring it through. Now in the next stitch, we will just do another double crochet, and we're just going to work back and forth between double crochet, slip stitch, and again pulling that one nice and up and working that loosely, and then double crochet. So we will just continue that across again for a total of 23 stitches, and we want to end the row with a double crochet. And for our last stitch, we're just going to go right into this top one here, that very last turn chain, and finishing with that double crochet. And then we will chain 2 and flip for row 3. So now that we've flipped over to begin row 3, you can see this is where the texture really is going to pop from those alternating double crochets and slip stitches. So it will essentially be the right side of our work and the less textured, the wrong side. If you're making the infinity scarf, it's going to kind of flip back and forth as you loop that around. So for row 3, the second of our repeat rows, we are just going to double crochet in each stitch across. And this is where it might get a bit tricky with trying to find where to insert your hook with the slip stitches. So to begin, we're just going to again go right underneath our chain there, that very first stitch, and make our double crochet. And now we're going to work into that first slip stitch. So that if you flip it over, you can see there's the slip stitch. Here, we'll just, it's a little easier from this view. So we got, there's our slip stitch, and here's our double crochet, and our slip stitch, and our double crochet. So when we're working it from the side, it can be a little bit trickier to see. So right into this little spot right there, we're going to do our double crochet, and into the next one, and again, it's just that little spot right in there. If you are unsure, just flip it over where you can see the V's of the work and it's a little bit easier to see. And again, we just want to repeat that across for a total of the 23 double crochets. and that last double crochet just in that very last stitch there, and chain 2, and we will flip for row 4. So row 4 again will be a repeat of row 2, the double crochets and the slip stitches, and we will just repeat rows 2 and 3 until you have the desired length you were going for. And for mine, before I joined it to be the infinity scarf, I had about 60 inches in length, and that took about 130 rows. But of course, this one is super easy to adjust. You can stop at whatever length you like or keep going for a longer length. So let's keep repeating rows 2 and 3, and then I will meet you back here and we will finish up the infinity scarf. All right, so once you are completed the number of rows that you were going for the length you'd like, now we can join the ends for the infinity scarf. Now to keep the pattern consistent, when I'm doing the infinity scarf, I did have my last row be the double crochet slip stitch row just because we started with a double crochet only row, and that'll keep the pattern. However, if you want to leave this one as just a loose scarf and not an infinity scarf, it might be nice to end on a double crochet row so the two ends are the same. So I've just done a little bit of a smaller sampling for the purpose of the video. This isn't quite scarf length, but it gives you a good idea of the texture. So the one side is a bit smoother, and then of course we've got that nice double crochet slip stitch texture in there. So when you're going to join, we're just going to bring the ends together. And of course, if yours being a longer scarf, you want to make sure that ends aren't twisted and have it nice and flat, and just bring the ends up together. And we're just going to slip stitch across. Alternatively, you can do the thread and needle whip stitch. It's really up to you which way you'd like to go. So we're just going to insert right into that same stitch and then through the other side, and make sure we get those two together and slip stitch. And we're going to do that in each stitch across, making sure we've got both sides of the fabric so we can join that together. And just continue that all the way across to bring those ends together. Now these slip stitches you don't want to make as loose because we are sealing the ends. We want them to be pretty tight actually, and we don't have to work into them later. And there we go. Now we've got that all slip stitched together. and you can pull through. And to finish off, you just want to flip your scarf, which obviously will be a bit bigger, so that that seam is on the inside. And look at that awesome texture. And again, of course, you can determine the length of your scarf. You may want it shorter or longer, even a cowl length. It's a very, very versatile pattern, and you can have fun with experimenting different size versions. Thank you so much for being here today and making the Crystalline Infinity Scarf with me. I hope you had as much fun as I did. While you're here again, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know you liked this video, and you'll also be alerted when I have new videos and tutorials out. And as we are at the end of December, we are moving on into a brand new year, and I hope you will join me for a crochet-filled 2022. Thanks so much for joining me again. I'll see you next time.